Hello viewers, welcome to the 11th Facebook Live on School Psychology for Quality System, brought to you by the Bangladesh School Psychology Society. Today I am Zakia Rahman, lecturer, Department of Psychology, University of Dhaka, will be moderating the entire program. Today we have three experts with us as our guests. Ms. Geetika Kapoor. She is a nationally certified school psychologist, USA, and founder and director of Aid Association. Welcome, ma'am, to our program. Can you please unmute yourself?
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have with us Professor Dr. Akbaruddin Ahmad Sir, Chairman, Policy Research Center, Bangladesh. Sir, can you hear us?
Thank you.
Welcome to our program, sir. And finally, we have Dr. Mohammad Kamaluddin, sir, Professor, Department of Psychology, University of Dhaka. He is also the president of Bangladesh School Psychology Society. Welcome to our program. Thank you for your valuable time. And I have a very important announcement for everyone. This is very unfortunate that we could not have Professor Dr. Abdul Khalik sir today in our program. He is undergoing bypass heart surgery today. So let's pray for his recovery and hope that he will be sharing views and expertise with us in another live program very soon, within a month maybe. So I would like to proceed.
Yes. Please.
Education is perceived as a prerequisite to good citizenship because it helps citizens make good decisions and think critically. Academic matters have been the main focus of schools or other education institutes so far, but the time has changed. Social, economic, and political factors have altered the school environment. During this wave of changes, school psychology have an important role to play in strengthening school and family partnership and community outreach also. Today, we will talk about the role of school psychology in building quality citizens. First of all, I would like to ask Ms. Geetika Kapoor. Geetika ji, before we move on to our today's theme-based discussion, I would like to request you to introduce our viewers with school psychology and the role of school psychologists as a professional. Just in brief.
So, we know that school psychology as a profession is actually an applied field. It is a combination of psychology and education. School psychology, as it evolved in the United States, was coming to being when school children seemed vulnerable. The district personnel wanted school children to have speedy services available, and school psychologists were put in that position and responsibility to create systems within the schools, the school districts, bringing services as early as possible to the school children.
Okay, thank you very much. Then my next question is for Dr. Akbaruddin Ahmad sir. Sir, as you have been involved with education as well as policy making for a long time, what would be your suggestion regarding implementing comprehensive school psychological services or inclusion of consistent leadership and advocacy of school psychologists at the local as well as national level for supporting safe learning environment and improving student mental health?
Right. If you recall, we had a pilot project a few months back. This was in in a place which is called Dhanbari in Tangal district. And we were all there for the pilot project was for 3 nights. And incidentally, there was the involvement of 3 institutions. There was a girls' college and a boys' school and a girls' school. And the whole purpose of this exercise was to ascertain uh, whether or not we would be in a position to sensitize teachers, the principal, as the administrators, and the students as well. So we had three day long sessions, and Professor Kamaluddin was there, Zakir Rahman was there, Doctor, and some of the other guys from Dhaka University and from the Policy Research Center. And the pilot project basically, we had a one-to-one talk with the girls students, the boys students as well separately, then with the parents as well, parents, and we tried to ascertain the difficulties that they are facing, particularly the stress level. And it was very interesting to know that certain things which emerged from this particular conference uh, actually calls for a very comprehensive policy on school psychology, which should be implemented uh, all important. So the pilot project was extremely successful. We hope to further continue this project and and have a couple of other more seminars, etc., to come up with a solution which will be called the Dhanbari uh, project solution on school psychology. This was related to the preparation of quality citizenship, and we are working on that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing. Then I would like to
Yes, please go ahead.
move on to Dr. Mohammad Kamaluddin, sir. Sir, could you please introduce today's theme, School Psychology for Quality Citizen?
Thank you, Zakir Rahman. Thank you, Gitika ji. Thank you, Dr. Akbaruddin Ahmed. Actually, the theme today I have decided is about the mission or vision of school psychology. Bangladesh School Psychology Society has decided to work on the vision like school psychology for quality citizen. Though the quality citizen requires to be defined from many perspectives. But ideally, by quality citizen, we mean the citizen who will obey the laws and respects authority, contribute to society and community, performs civic duty, loves his or her country, courtesy and respect for the rights of others, trustworthy and honesty, tolerance, accountability, moral courage, responsibility, self-discipline. This means a lot of qualities to be achieved by a citizen to be qualified as quality citizen. But the theme today is on school psychology for quality citizen. The reason is very obvious from two previous speakers have pointed out that 3-day seminar in Dhanbari warranted for implementing school psychology. Why it is said? Because we have stayed 3 days in a village where we found school-going children having a lot of problems. They're having troubles emotionally, having trouble with academics, having trouble with social interaction with peers, with teachers, with parents. So these are the lot of issues that students at their early age struggle with. And Gitika has rightly pointed out the role of school psychology in a very nutshell. Perhaps she will describe the issues in greater detail in the course of our discussion. And I think the role of school psychology is immense because today we are talking about mental health. We are talking about mental illness. Who will ensure mental health? Long days, psychology was dwelt on dealing with the negative aspects of human being. That is mental illness, repairing and making them just to zero level, to bring them to zero level. That is no mental illness. But no mental illness doesn't mean that they are mentally healthy. So to promote mental health or to promote mental wellness, it is essential to work at the early age as preventive measures. And students, especially at the early age in elementary level, high school level, they are having a lot of troubles. And because of the access to job, both parents are working outside, they cannot take care of the children adequately. Also, the school teacher cannot make time for the students because a lot of students in the classroom. So the emotional, social, and other aspects of learners remains unmet, and the expectation of the parents themselves, especially for India and Bangladesh, are very high. The children are under stress of their parental expectations, from the societal expectation. So these all the things together put stress on the learner. So it is very much necessary to talk about the issues from school psychological point of view, and we are very happy and grateful that we have among us a licensed school psychologist from America, but now she is based in Delhi. She will enlighten us in many different ways. I just talk about the theme itself. Thank you,
Uh,
Zakia.
Thank you, sir. Sir, before we proceed, we have a question from one of our viewers.
Yes,
What's
please.
your suggestion to build up high and stable self-esteem from childhood and to cut pride from self?
Is this question directed to me or to Gitigaji?
Sir, it is not for specific of any of you.
So maybe Gitigaji is the right person. I can tell it because I can tell them later as well, but Gitiga is not available. So we will want to listen to Gitigaji's response on this issue.
Okay, thank you. I would say one thing. Uh, we need to guard children against continuous failure. What happens to self-esteem? I mean, we can't develop self-esteem in a vacuum. If students are struggling, if students are emotionally falling out of the system, and in fact, I think as a school psychologist, one of the prime roles that I find myself playing in schools is in retaining children, in advocating for their needs, in saying that what is it that individual children need. And once we start looking at some system wide practices in a school, wherein teachers or administrators are not just focused on a few bright children in the school, because of course they give us the best results. One of the findings has been that a lot of children are getting identified as having learning disability, as having dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD has been overdiagnosed, if you ask me. Now, the idea is that from very early on, when we write off a student by saying he or she is not good enough, he or she is not smart enough. And one of the parameters of smartness in schools is getting marks or performing well in exams. Now, in this context, holding on to the concept of self esteem, a good confidence for a learner becomes difficult because everybody is compared to the same parameters of marks, and students who are not able to perform are either told you're not good enough, or probably you have a disability, you cannot survive this environment. And then we have the danger of students dropping out. So, as a school psychologist, one would think that how do we create systems that actually build skills of children, whether it is academic, emotional striving, social skills of children. And that's where I tie it to self esteem of children. So, if we keep them successful, if we are having programs that focus on their skill development early on, say, starting from grade 1, grade 2 level, where every teacher, every principal, every personnel in the school is working on seeing how can we develop a skill set of a child in the school, is that by the time they are reaching, say, middle school, we have a good profile of each child. And that's when we start saying our students have high self-esteem because we've given them the skills to be successful.
Very nice. Jakia, are you there?
Yes, yes, sir. I am here, sir. Would you like to add something, sir? Or
Yes.
Dr. Akbar, sir? Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. Dr. Akbaruddin sir, do you like to add something or would you like to add
Yes,
me?
yeah, I'll say a few words here. Traditionally, we have found in the grassroots levels, say, way out in the wilderness where we have schools operating at different levels, union, upazila, and the district levels. Schools over there are not in the capital city. And again, there are the very high class English medium schools and the normal schools, government controlled schools. Now, there's a huge difference in quality where the teachers are different, high class, and in the other one, the teachers are not that well paid and they are not in a position to contribute what is actually required. So I think the Train the Trainers program for skills development of the teachers, that is extremely important, number one. Number two, uh, school psychology as a subject, I think, has to be introduced. All is sold to the government. The government has to accept this and allocate funds for this purposes, and so that we can have a group of highly qualified, skilled teachers who can become consultants and can prepare other teachers, like the Teach for Trainers program. So that is very important, in my opinion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Akbaruddin sir. I would like to add something in line with the Gitikaji's response. During childhood, children grow self-esteem because of the environmental interaction. So, for example, child are doing something, parents are not praising. Parents are saying it is not so good. In the school, same thing happens. Teachers do not value the activities of children, students. So gradually, the students come to learn they are quite worthless. If it is so at their early age, that continues in their high school or college life as well. So it is valuable. Even in India, you can see there is no fail till class 10. Do you know that? But in our country, we put label that you have failed. The meaning of fail in Bangladesh has a strong connotation. And this fail does not simply mean that he or she has failed in a subject. They consider they have failed in their throughout their life. Even parents themselves consider my son is failed for everything. Teachers consider in that way. So building self-esteem requires a paradigm shift in terms of mental makeup. If we put something on their report card in the school's examination that he is very good in writing, he is very good in art, he is very good in communication, he is very good in team play. That is added value, and that is apart from GPA. Then the children will find something worthy in themselves, and definitely the self-esteem will be boosted up. But while you're focusing on single issue like GPA, single issue like marks, then other potentialities of the children remain unaddressed, remain unnoticed. And this is the way we are spoiling our children at the very early age. I think we have to rethink how to build their self-esteem and what are the alternative ways. And definitely, school psychology is the best sword to address this issue from positive perspective, because we sometimes think of that the school should employ clinical psychologists or other mental health professionals. In Bangladesh, some schools have advertised this way. This is quite pathogenic in terms of thinking, because our children, our teachers, our guardians are not mentally sick, that they will require to have services from clinical psychologists. Clinical psychologists definitely will work for mentally ill patients, mentally ill people, but it is the jurisdiction, it is the boundary, it is the uh, workplace for school psychologists, counselor, and other special educators. I think now my question will be to Ritika ji, to have a differentiation between these different types of professions within psychology, especially school psychology, clinical psychology, counseling psychology. The boundary should be well defined. Then the authority will understand the necessity of hiring school psychologists in school places. Thank you,
Uh,
Zakia.
yes, I think Dr. Kamaluddin, you said it very aptly that we need to prevent these labels on our children. We need to stop the practice, discourage the practice of prematurely labeling children with different disorders. We need to first put services in place. Training teachers, I think what Professor Ahmed said very clearly, training teachers in the right pedagogical practices, training teachers to include children, understand the deviations within the normal, is one of a paramount issue in schools, because one, we need to understand that schools, I think world over, are designed to focus on key academic skills. Being literate in whatever sense that we have to say, reading, writing, math, work, is where all our citizens begin with. And we need to create environments where most of our children, and if I have to look as a psychologist, the normal curve, I can leave aside the 1% on both sides of the tail is fine. But I need to address needs of the middle of the normal curve and say, am I doing justice to at least 60 to 70% of my youth, the skills that they need, and are we doing enough in our schools? First, to make them literate in reading, writing, math, which is a basic, to get them in the other side of the life. Keep them successful. By the time they graduate out of school, they need to have some esteem to say where do they stand vis-a-vis the workforce. Do they have enough credibility to enter the workforce with dignity? Because that's another danger that our youth has today, is that if they're falling out of the school system, they fall prey to all sorts of influences. And then we are talking about how do we debunk all of that. So yes, one, I would say training teachers to teach effectively so that needs of students are being met. Then comes the difference between these extra professionals, because I need to say this, that school psychologists, counselors especially, are extra professionals which look at quality aspect of education. They are not just looking at the quantity aspect of education. So where I think as school psychologists play a very big role is in collaboration, in including the needs, in systematic review of what are the skill sets that teachers need to build. What is the kind of training that we need to build, bring in for teachers first. Second, what kind of trainings, orientations, because collaboration means that all parties involved in the process are experts. There is no one expert in the room. And that's when, as a school psychologist, we are trying to build on training and skill set of all professionals in the room, and say that
Right.
what can we learn from each other's experiences, and build a system where we are probably trying to fill gaps in each other's skill set, but utilizing the experience and training. I mean, as a teacher, one is so well versed in large group processes. I mean, what a teacher can do in a class of 30, 40, sometimes even 50 children is amazing. And as I think a school counselor or a special education teacher, we will fall flat. We will not know how to work with that large group of 40. And that's the strength of a general ed teacher. And we need to learn that from them. Now, when we come to differentiating between, say, title of school psychology, school counseling, or special ed, so one, I would say school psychology as the model I have been trained in brought together psychology, education, which was the general education, law, and pedagogy, and special education. So, school psychology was actually an amalgamation of all. In the system that I was trained, school counselors were very, very focused on emotional needs of children. The demarcation was in building social skills and emotional skills of children, whether they were working with individual children or whether they were working in small group interventions. Special education teachers, I think, are one, their qualification, at least here in India, we know that qualification is a bachelor's in education or a diploma in special education. So the idea is that paradigm wise, they are having different orientation. Yes, a lot of special education teachers have been taking or honing counseling skills or psychological knowledge on how to work and how to diagnose. But essentially, a special education teacher, one is called in after a student has been identified with a disability, because that's the focus. As a school psychologist or a school counselor, one is working a lot on prevention. One is working a lot on early intervention, wherein we are trying to build services for children. Counselors are trying to build services for emotional and social skills. School psychologists are trying to build skills of academic, language development, emotional, social, and more importantly, system-wide application. So here, a school psychologist is not trained only to focus on children or sit down with children. School psychologists need to work on their communication skills, sit in the parent-teacher meetings, sit through the staff meeting, sit through the policy making of a school and saying, what is it that we can do differently? What is it that we can do differently so that our children have better success? We are seeing more success. We are not getting bogged down only with syllabus, and we have the right skills in place. More importantly, are we doing enough to prevent false diagnosis? So, like this, I think we can have this support system, and I call these student support services. We are going much beyond a typical educator only. We are saying, what can we do for holistic development, in which emotional and social skills are becoming important. And it's not only about academic skills, the soft skills as a citizen is what I think we are looking at.
Thank you. Based on your responses and based on my personal experience, while I have been reading the materials from abroad, I have come up with a concrete proposal that school psychologist work lies in like a triangle in which one vertex represented by parents, the other being represented by teachers and staffs, the other vertex represented by community administrative people, and the center represented by the learners. So school psychology deals with learners to boost up their mental health as well as their academic excellence, but not at the expense of losing mental health. And to maintain the mental health of learners, they have to work sometimes with their parents. They need to work with the teachers and staffs. They need to work with the community people so that they can make ensure that this is the system in which a learners can learn very nicely, very safely, and that way the learners can get the maximum of his potentiality without losing his mental health. So saying so, school psychologist can be playing vital role as assessor. He might sometimes serve as a counselor as well. I noticed in America, in Australia, sometimes the role of a school psychologist become as a counselor when he is dealing with the emotional aspect of the learners. So he is no more a school psychologist, rather he is considered as a counselor. But the vital role of a school psychologist lies in the assessment, intervention, consultation, collaboration, and also the training for teachers, training for parents, and training for community people as well. As Gitikaji nicely talked about, the amalgamation of basic things like developmental psychology, educational psychology, applied behavior analysis, and also educational pedagogy. All these things come together in the courses of school psychology. So school psychologists are well trained in dealing with a learner from various perspectives with a motive to boost up their academic excellence, not at the losing of their mental health. I think that should be borne in mind of the potential school psychologist in Bangladesh as well. And Zakia Rahman is also a school psychologist. She is graduated in school psychology from the Department of Psychology. So, from this discussion, it is very obvious that in a school, it is imperative to employ school psychologists predominantly. I think so.
Yes, sir. I am about to talk about this. In our country, the Department of Psychology of University of Dhaka offering professional Master of Science program from January 2017. Three batches of students have earned the degree already, and they are now working as school psychologists in different settings throughout the country. The government of our country is thinking about the appointment of school psychologists in schools. What do you all think? What is the necessity of school psychologists in our schools? How much benefited our schools or our community would be from this decision? So this
So,
question is
this
for
question
all of
is to Gitikaji or to me.
sir. I would like to hear from all of you, sir. Akbaruddin sir, Kamaluddin sir, and Deepika madam.
Sure. You see,
So,
if
Dr.
I may say
Akbaruddin
something,
sir,
yes. We have
please.
been managing a few schools, a girls' school, high school, a boys' high school, a primary school, and a degree college. This is part of our foundation. We manage these, and and I have been in the teaching line for some time, for quite some time, both in administration and also as a teacher, as a vice chancellor, and as a professor. Now, you see, what I have found is that due to the environmental pressures uh, on the students, uh, either from the secondary or higher secondary or even the college level students, uh, is it the competition levels are so high that the parents tend to compare their children with the good students uh, who are there, maybe the neighbor's children or the relatives' children who may be doing better. Now, I personally feel that uh, some sort of advice is necessary where we collect these parents from time to time, maybe quarterly basis, bi-monthly basis. You have talks with the parents and you convey certain messages about handling students, because it's not the run of the mill stuff. Things are changing a lot. Environment is changing, and unless we try to update the parents how to handle the children, and also update the teachers on proper handling of the children, it will be very difficult. For example, in our times, in missionary schools, in different places that we studied, teachers were extremely strict. I cannot forget about the caning also. Very, very strict. And these were all Christian missionaries. That had its own impact. But now these things are not applicable, not proper, in my opinion. Things have changed. And for example, even in a madrasa, in a school, religious school, which we run, we manage, we found that the guys get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock, say their prayers, and then they start memorizing the Holy Quran. They have a short break for lunch, and they sleep for a little while. Again, they start. So, in one of my meetings with the people over there, I suggested to them that please add one particular period for games. When I said that, the children, they really liked it. All young kids. But the teachers, apparently, they didn't like the idea. Then I also suggested that why don't we give them a proper television, and you show them games and dramas and certain other good programs. You guys control. So that students like the idea, but the teachers didn't like the idea. The head teacher didn't like the idea. They thought that these ideas would ruin the students in these religious schools. But that was absolutely wrong. So we enforced, we said no.
Thank you so much, sir, for your nice idea.
Sports have to continue on a regular basis. So we started that, and we found, you'll be surprised if I tell you, that some of these students who passed class 12 level, they were going into the university level. Some of them entered the business school, where I was the director and pro-vice chancellor. And I was taking class. There were 2 students from the same madrasa education. I was a little afraid whether or not they'll be able to cope up. But to my utter surprise, the level of concentration that they had and the results that they produced were absolutely amazing. And they happened to be at the top of the class, the 2 guys. I think parenting, the giving advice to the students, to the teachers and the parents is extremely important. And school psychologists, they have a huge role to play. And I think we need to talk to the administrators, the government, that a proper budget has to be allocated for these purposes in our national budget. It is extremely important. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akbaruddin sir. I have nicely understood what you meant, that parents or teachers today consider play of the children is a wastage of time. Many parents think playing in the playground is simply wastage of time. If it is so, how children grow physically, how children grow emotionally? There are certain things that to be learned not by knowing, that should be learned through doing. Some skills need to be learned through doing. So, for example, you are in the playground, you will learn many things, how to interact with others, how to ventilate your emotions. That should be in the playground. But in today's world, especially in our country, parents are highly competitive.
Right.
They do not compromise their children's GPA at the expense of playground, at the expense of going to the playground. So this mindset should be totally changed, and this
Right.
cannot be done individually. That should be done
Right.
collectively. And if the
Correct.
school psychologist posted in a school, they can make some presentation, seminar, symposium on regular basis, and the
Right.
mindset can be changed. Even parents are not aware of how their children are suffering in
Right.
school's pressure, how they're suffering due to their mental parental expectation, that
Right.
things remain unnoticed. But we are expecting that my children will get the score like this, he or she will be first in the class, and this is the way we are ruining our young children. I think Gitikaji will add many things to this issue.
One, I think education outcome is highly dependent on the context in which our children are today. I think looking at Indian outcomes, expectations of education system, I think the whole society is having very unrealistic expectations of children.
Right.
The number of, I think, colleges, higher educational opportunities is proportionally less as the number of citizens that we are letting out of the school system. And we have been put in that responsibility where, as citizens, we are actively now exploring what are the other avenues for our children who are
Right.
graduating successfully. Even when we look at this whole emphasis on marks, we need to understand that that expectation from school and from parents is happening in this context of expectation from the society. The disproportionate availability of number of seats that are available in colleges for our able learners, the competition is so high. And when we say to our learner, please do not worry, something will come out of it, sometimes we also need to create that context where awareness is happening in terms of what will come out of it. A learner who has not seen life beyond school does not know what life stands beyond marks, what life stands beyond the syllabus that I am learning. And that's when I think, as school psychologists, one needs to also be collaborating with policymakers to say, okay, what is it that we are setting our citizens up for? What are the opportunities that our children will have once they graduate out of school? Working in close connection with the community where the schools exist, the opportunities of highly skilled and not so skilled and highly specialized and not so specialized services where our children can be doing remarkable work even without any professional degrees, and even when saying very traditional roles. But now, as a society, we need to create spaces of respect, of dignity around those professions. And that's also demands for a continuous dialogue with the community, with the policymakers, with the parent community. Because after all, the parents look up to schools as some redefining places that are going to do magical outcomes for their children, whereas that is not the possibility. It is, and I think, as Dr. Kamaluddin, you said very clearly about the triangle, we need to connect the dots of the triangle and say, are we as school psychologists able to facilitate this communication between different stakeholders? Because at the end, we all are advocating only for the children. We do not have any other client in focus. If our children are falling out of the system or our children are not understood properly, we as, I think, problem solvers are trained to say, let's keep the dialogue on. let's start understanding the context in which our children are, held against the unrealistic expectations. I mean, 96%. We just had our results out, and children who've scored like 96% are thinking they're not good enough. And I'm like, that is unrealistic. We need to have some redefinition of our expectations as a society also. What are we holding our children against? And that would require a lot of collaboration and dialogue with not just the schools, not just the parents, but policymakers and even, I think, the industry at large. What is it that we are looking at to train our children for?
Thank you.
Sir, I am back again. Sir, I was facing trouble in internet connection, sir. That's why
Yeah, I noticed.
connected. Sir, there are sometimes where the trouble in school or the poor grades are a symptom of something else in a children's life. What is the role of school psychologists here? Can they find out what else is going on that could play a factor in this?
Yes, definitely you remember your childhood memories. When you were a school child, you noticed some children bullying other children. But you never have come to know what is the after effect of bullying. Some children drop out forever. So bullying is a very serious issue today, and the school psychologist can make a lot of things as anti-bullying campaign. They can organize workshop in the school, inviting all the children to sensitize them, to make aware about the consequences of being victim of bullying, or what is the consequences of being a bully. Sometimes the children who bully others are not aware of what happens to them in future. So let them learn at their early age that bullying is very dangerous to the person who are being bullied and who are doing this bullying. So this is simple example of something that happened in our childhood experiences, that we suddenly noticed that one of my classmates are absent and he or she is not coming for years together. We just simply thought that he or she will not continue, but the reason remains unexplored. Here lies the business of a school psychologist who will be dealing with this issue based on the data. That is why school psychologist's role is said to be data driven. You have to maintain a record of a student who is having some trouble, why it is so, what was his previous record, and what is his today. So if you have some data based on that, you can regress, you can predict what will happen to him. So this is very crucial to bring all the underlying things that remain unnoticed, that go unnoticed to the parents, to the teachers as well. Even children unwillingly, unknowingly do harm to other peer groups. So that should be sensitized. If we can make them aware of that what you're simply doing for fun, that is not a fun for the person to whom you're doing. It is a life-threatening event, issue that jeopardizes his life forever. So that should be the role of a school psychologist, to guard against, to protect a child from being ruined forever.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Thank you, sir. Gitika ji, would you like to share some PowerPoint slides with our viewers?
I think we are doing great. We can leave the slides out. And I think the discussion is going on fine, so we can look at some more questions if our viewers have.
Jackie, do you have anything to see that whether viewers have any questions in the chat box?
No, sir, no questions, only comments, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Okay,
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Yes. one question, sir, from the previous person who questioned Deepika ji. When a school psychologist is not the owner of a school or not honored by the owner or government, as in the owner or body of government, was not trained well in their childhood, there is no exact solution. Is there any?
Well, I would say one, that is the whole reason why why we need to bring psychology first and then school psychology as a profession. And that has to do with credentialing, that has to do with licensure, because that is how I think, position of a professional is established in a society. Second, I don't think school psychologists really need to be owners. I mean, if they are owners, they will do very good to the community, but they don't necessarily have to be owners of the school. Yes, earning the honor of the owner or the government of the school, or I would say administrators in the school. One, I think, as a professional body, it will be our responsibility to create that space. Any doctor or any engineer or any lawyer or any chartered accountant gets the honor not just because of their individual work, they get the honor of the society because their licensure bodies have put them to the standard of training, have given them the license of practice in the community. And if anything goes wrong where the professional is not able to deliver the services, it's that body that holds them accountable. And that is where the practice of school psychology is also to be held. And psychologists at large in India, I think we are still finding our way to find psychology as a profession. And that's where I think that as with legislatures, we need to work on creating a licensure system where it's not just about giving the respect to school psychology, it is also about holding school psychologists accountable for their decisions. We make high stake decisions for our children, whether it is about diagnosis, whether it is about categorizing them into different services that they should be entitled for, whether it is about making recommendations about educational programs in schools, whether it is about social and emotional systems that should be put in place. And there's a lot of money involved at the end. So a school psychologist should also be held accountable for whatever suggestions they're giving. And I know that in the Western countries, psychologists have to go through a rigorous process of training and licensure and professional development that needs to be continued. And they cannot just once have the practicing licensure and that's about it. They have to keep up with their professional development with the field. And that whole framework will come with professionalization of school psychology. It is not just, I don't think it's just goodwill or high motivation or as a professional. We do some serious work. And that's where we need to hold that bar and say that look up to us for something and hold us accountable as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gitika ji. I would like to add something with this regarding the question made by somebody. That is all about whether school psychologists are honored by the school or government. It is simply the result of psychological research we know, learned helplessness. Government or other people came through the same process as we are. So if there is anything faulty in their learning process, they will today also remain faulty. So whether you are valuable to them, that is immaterial. Let them learn optimism as opposed to learned helplessness. So we do not think for granted that all the policymakers know everything and they will respect us as a school psychologist. It is never the case. You may not be desirable, but you have to prove indispensable through various ways. Say, for example, we are today doing a Facebook Live. This is meant for those who are not aware of what a school psychologist is doing indeed. And the question made by Zakir Rahman a little earlier regarding the cost effectiveness. Definitely, if you invest something as a school psychologist in the school, the return is great. Because today the society is facing a lot of troubles. This trouble is not originated at their adulthood, that originated at their early age. They are not trained well, they are not groomed well, and after being appointed somewhere, they remain as if they are behaving like childish behavior. Some professionals are not behaving in their professions rightly. So it is important to make children a resource, not a burden. And the traditional and the conventional GPA is making our society burden to some extent, because some people are having high GPA are problematic for their colleagues, for their societies, for their communities. So it is important to focus the role of school psychology and its benefit for the learners. That should be done in various ways, whether the owner of the school doesn't care you, whether the government doesn't honor you, that is immaterial, because they're having some trouble as well. You have to make understand them as well. So let the situation change. And that is why Professor Akbaruddin is here, who is rightly saying that he has allowed children in the madrasa to allocate some time for playing. But the teachers there considered it is the wastage of time. But later on, he discovered that these children who used to play performed very well. So, guardians, teachers should know the benefits of physical fitness, the benefits of psychological fitness, benefit of emotional upright, and that should be made ensured through the services of school psychology. And this is the demand of the day. It is not a fashion, I say. It is very essential, like aid essential. It is very much essential today to get the services of school psychology. And definitely, we have noticed in Tangal, our 3 days presence have substantially changed the mindset of students, mindset of parents, mindset of teachers. Lot of queries, lot of unresolved issues that have been brought to surface by the school psychologist and resolved instantly. So if something remains unresolved during their childhood, according to Freud, that goes to your unconscious, that forces you to act very badly, very adversely. So that should be taken into account. That should be considered very seriously. Policymakers, Ministry of Education, they should learn from the university teachers. They should not teach instead teachers the way they are going to do. It should not be the practice. So what we are going to do, we are regularly doing researches, we have findings, and they should take the benefit of these findings to implement in schools in their policy making. And I think Professor Dr. Akbaruddin Sir is the right person who can advocate in the policy level, in the ministerial level, the benefit of the school psychological services in our country now. Thank you.
May I add something to Deepika ji and Dr. Kamal?
Zakir Rahman, I finished.
Yes, sir. Of course, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Kamal.
Yeah,
sir.
few words. Just a few words.
Dr. Akbaruddin Sir is saying something.
I remember, again, I go back to my school days in a missionary school, at a very high-class missionary schools. And we found that professionals having the top-ranking credentials were brought in at the high school level to discuss about their profession and to sensitize the students in order to find out the aptitude of the students concerned. Aptitude. I think here the school psychologist role also comes in. Because say, for example, in the home, the parents are pressurizing a student to go in for medical school. They have to study biology. But the student concerned is not bothered. He does not like the subject. He wants to become a mathematician or a teacher or an engineer or a scientist. You see, here the question of aptitude comes in. And I think one of the best persons, one of the best specialists in this should be the school psychologist who can bring in the right professionals.
Yes, sir, you are very
So
right.
that
In recent times, you have
they can
noticed.
lecture. This is my humble suggestion.
Thank you, sir. You have noticed recently that in 38 BCS, about more than 50 medical
Yeah.
graduates opted for general BCS cadre, and more than 80 engineers opted for general cadre, ignoring their main profession of
Right.
engineering and main profession of medical sciences. Why? This is the
Yeah.
misuse of resources of the country. And as you
Very
say,
true.
early detection of aptitude is very imperative. If we
Right.
can,
Very
if we
important.
can figure out who are going to do what, whether they have aptitude to do that,
True.
then we can save
Right.
resources. So this is one of the avenues where school psychologists can play a vital role by assessing their aptitudes,
Absolutely.
by assessing their scholastic aptitude, especially.
Right. Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Sir,
Zakir. Baradin,
thank you
sir.
very much, sir. Sir, I think we are already at the end of our today's episode. I would request you all to say something for our viewers as an end note. Geetika ji?
Well, I would say it was a fun interaction. It was an honor to be with all of you. And I look forward to development of school psychology to the best heights that it deserves.
Akbaruddin sir, please.
Yes. I actually look forward to this society, which is headed by Professor Dr. Kamal, try to be all their activities, and we'll go all out to continue with the pilot project, with the extension of the pilot project. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, we are looking forward to, sir. Thank you. And Professor Dr.
Thank
Kamaluddin
you.
sir.
Yes, final remarks from me is we have to acknowledge and appreciate Professor Dr. Akbaruddin, who has given us a lot of opportunities to exercise our school psychological services as a pilot project in his schools based in Tangal. And
Yes,
we
sir.
stayed there for 3 days, and he was so hospitalized that he has spent more than 3 lakhs taka for us, not for only the 3D stay. Kawalis and other recreational events are there. So this is
Right.
what we mean, that if people like Professor Dr. Akbaruddin come forward, then we have a scope to implement what a school psychologist has learned and how they can benefit society, especially the learners, in various
Right.
ways. And I think today we have found another well-wisher friend, Gitika Kapoor, who has spent a lot of time with us. And definitely, the cultural and geographical similarity will help us go forward with the same thinking, with the same protocol, with the same portfolio. And we have the scope to collaborate, we have the scope to interact often now. And within a few days later, I think we'll invite again Gitika Kapoor, Gitika ji, in our webinar through Zoom, where she'll be able to present her slides, which she has prepared today, but unfortunately she couldn't show us. Definitely, she is with us, she will be with us, and we will be with her. And we will have a very good platform because she is the licensed school psychologist, so she is very well equipped with the profession, and we can be benefited as well. I hope she will extend her cooperation as today. Thank you, everybody. Thank all the viewers. And thank Zakir Rahman to host this meaningful event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Our changing priorities have highlighted the important roles that the school psychologist can play in the educational system. The school psychologist has to play a crucial part in ensuring that schools are responsive to a changing world. It is high time school administrators and other key decision makers realize the importance of role of school psychologists in addressing all the domains of human development that are necessary for education. Thank you all for watching us. Stay safe. Good night.